Welcome back to NewsX. I'm Joshua Barnes and you're watching Focal Length, where we get you a briefing on topics from across the world. In this conversation, we'll discuss global security amid rising tensions around Islamist terrorism, particularly in the West. We will examine the implications for international safety. We'll also look at the ongoing situation in Gaza, Israel's actions, and the humanitarian crisis across the region. As the conflict unfolds, we'll consider the prospects for a potential hostage exchange and explore potential shifts in Middle Eastern dynamics under future US leadership. Finally, we'll touch on the geopolitical impact of Iran's actions in Syria and the evolving security challenges across the region. Let's find out. Joining us is Lev Aran, the former coordinator of the Israeli-India Parliamentary Friendship League and an Israel-based freelance columnist and journalist. Thank you, Lev Aran. My first question to you is, 2 Israelis were wounded in the New Orleans terror attack. The suspect has been linked to ISIS. Do you think Islamist terrorism is on the rise in the West?
One cannot preach a global intifada and then to be surprised that it is really global and people get killed not only in West Asia, but also in Europe and America. So I don't know the nitty-gritties of each and every terror attack, but of course, when one preaches for a global intifada, you will see outcomes outside the Middle East region.
The Hamas-run health ministry releases reports on the number of people dying in Gaza on a daily basis. How many more strikes by Israel will it take for the war to end?
I guess Israelis would ask to which extent Hamas should be defeated to release the hostages, because it is crystal clear from an Israeli point of view that once there are no hostages, also there is no war in Gaza, that Israel does not have the appetite to control Gaza, to annex Gaza, and so on. Of course, there are some ministers, some far-right ministers, who have this fantasy that Gaza again will be part of Israel. But I think they're in the minority in the Israeli society. Most Israelis want to see the hostages back home, and otherwise they want to have a good fence with Gaza. They do not want to control Gaza. So from an Israeli point of view, the question is not how many more Palestinians will be dead or what will be the death toll in the Palestinian side in West Bank or in Gaza. But the question is, when will Hamas releases the hostages? And as far as we know, Israel is ready to release many, many Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails to get our hostages back home.
Israel has come under heavy criticism for destroying almost every single health facility in Gaza. How is Israel helping to end the humanitarian crisis within Gaza?
Israel is not on a pedestal beyond any criticism. One has the right to criticize Israel, and there is no doubt that today we do not really have functioning hospitals in Gaza. But one can also ask, how come Rantisi Hospital, Indonesian Hospital, and all the other hospitals in Gaza, how come they all became units of Hamas? How come when Israel is doing the ambush in this hospital or in that hospital, we catch so many terrorists inside? So if a hospital is a place that is beyond politics, a place that sick and ill people can go there and get treatment, also Hamas should play according to the same game and not let its officers into the place. And we know that at least in the other operations, the CEOs of the hospitals admitted that on one hand, the hospitals were treating Palestinians, but on the other hand, the real control on hospitals was not the CEO of the hospital, but the Hamas commander in the hospital. So it is a game that both sides need to respect the rules, because we all want all hospitals in Gaza to function well.
Do you think it is realistic to hope for a hostage exchange deal to materialise?
We all heard what new President Trump said. And he said it twice, that it is better for Hamas to reach a hostage deal with Israel. Now, the question is, if Hamas sees Trump as somebody that they should care about. Because right now, it seems like we almost had a deal with Hamas. And also the Biden administration says that Israel is ready to release many prisoners from the Israeli jail. And Israel is ready for also other things that Hamas is asking for. But each and every time that it seems like the hostages will be out and we will be happy to see them back to Israel, there is a problem. Now, Hamas, on the other hand, says that they have like the same policy about hostages from day one, from October 7th, 23, and the side that puts the price higher is Israel and not the Palestinian Hamas. So as far as the Americans are concerned, and this is like a bipartisan policy, both Republicans and Democrats, they say that the problem is with the Palestinians, with Hamas, not with Israel. But Hamas says it is Bibi and not them. So I do hope that we will see a deal, because if there is one big wound about this war, as far as we Israelis are concerned, it is the wound of the hostages who are there for over 1 year.
How do you think Trump 2.0 could shape the Middle East policy?
Look, if we judge Trump only according to his rhetorics, he's very pro-Israeli. And the new ambassador to Jerusalem is not only pro-Israeli, but also pro-settlement and even a right-wing Israeli. So in a way, the Hamas is in a sticky wicket while Israel is in a winning point. But we know well that we can never trust what Trump says. He's not really predictable. We remember that on one hand, he was very pro-Indian and Howdy Modi and so on. On the other hand, he invited Imran Khan and said that he will negotiate a peace in Kashmir, which means that India needs to give something to Pakistan. So on one hand, he's pro-India, pro-Israel, anti-Hamas. On the other hand, he gives Israel surprises. So we cannot know right now, because right now we only hear his rhetorics. But let's say in the middle of February, we will know much better what is the real policy of Donald Trump in West Asia. And if we judge only according to what he says, it will be pro-Israeli.
Do you think the US-Israel support to the terrorist organisation HTS and Jolani could lead to re-emergence of ISIS within the region?
Look, al-Jolani is an ex-ISIS, and he was fanning the flames in the Middle East for quite a while. For the last half decade, he wants to convince us all that he's a moderate leader and we should all trust him and we should forget his past. I'm not sure that right now al-Jolani controls enough of Syria to have a real threat on Israel. But Israel is still bombing, the Syrian Navy, the Syrian Air Force, also the munition factories and so on. It means that Israel believes that at the end of the game, at the end of the day, with Turkish support, with Erdogan support, al-Jolani will have a good control of Syria. And then Al-Julani and Syria will be a challenge for Israel. But what should merit our consideration and also our trust is that right now Israel is doing its best to show Al-Julani that he better be a peaceful neighbor to Israel. And I think yesterday or day before yesterday, his foreign minister said, and I think it is the first time that any Syrian leader said it, that Israel is a fact. And he used the word Israel, didn't say the Zionist entity or other pejorative words. He used the word Israel. So if Julani is really the moderate leader that he claims to be, we should all be optimistic.
Iran has proclaimed a new resistance against Israel will emerge in Syria. Do you think the ousting of Assad has worsened the situation in the Middle East?
Look, Iran lost many of its chamchas. All the forces that were ready to fight for Iran, they are much weaker. Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad in Gaza, also Hamas. We can still see the Houthis, but in a way they are less proxies. So Iran now is using high rhetorics. But if we delve into the situation, into what's happened realistically, Putin is much weaker after he needed to leave Syria. And Iran is also much weaker after Hezbollah lost the war in Lebanon. And let's say the big ally that they had, the Assad family, they also lost them. Now they have Al-Julani in Syria. And on top of it, Trump won the elections and Biden lost it. So I can understand why Iran wants to deny the new geopolitical situation that they face. But reality is stronger than words. And in reality, Iran now faces a very big geostrategic problem, a very big one, because Iran itself does not have the appetite to send its own soldiers to wars. Usually, Iran uses the proxies in many places. And now some of the proxies are much weaker. And some of the proxies lost the appetite to fight for Iran. So Iran also will have to decide what will be their policy during the 4-year Trump tenure. And I don't envy them.
Thank you, Lev Aran, for speaking to us on Focal Length. With that, it's a wrap on this episode. For more international news updates, stay tuned on NewsX.